Welcome to Virtual Wisdom, Finance and Accounting Tutorials. My name is Peter and I'll be your host in this particular tutorial. Our topic for today is time value of money. If you check from my previous tutorials, I had already looked at this topic, but only on one section of this topic. What is this time value of money? Time value of money is a concept that tries to explain why the value of a shilling today is worth more than a shilling tomorrow. Why is it that the value of a currency today is more than a value of a currency in the future days? If I may explain this, take for instance 1,000 shillings note. 10 years ago, you'd have purchased several items using the 1,000 shillings note. But currently, how many items can you acquire? That means the value of that currency has decreased. So with time, the value of a currency is reduced or is lost. And that is where the concept of time value of money comes in place. So you find that these financial values and decisions are normally assessed using two methods. The first one is the future value techniques, and the second one is the present value techniques, where the first one focuses on the value of a currency in the future. The second one focuses on the value of a currency today. In my previous tutorial, I already looked at the first one, that is the future value technique. And therefore, today I'm going to look at the second, which is the present value techniques. Present value techniques. So you find that present value techniques measure the cash flows of a project at time zero. That is, before the project is started. It tries to find, if I'm going to start a project today, I'm expecting this project to give me a certain amount of money in the future. Then I try to determine the value of that money today. So if, for example, you're starting a project that is going to give you 10,000 per month, or let's say per annum, in the next 5 years, you have not earned this money. You're expecting to earn this money at the end of the year. But when you are investing today, you need to determine, is it worth investing in this particular investment? How do you determine that? Try getting the current value of that money and know what is required of you in order for you to invest in this particular business or project. Present value techniques uses a method that we call discounting. And previously, when we looked at future values, we say that the future value technique uses compounding method. Discounting is the inverse of compounding. And this compounding is what is applied in future values. But now the opposite of that is discounting. Under present value technique, this is a general equation whereby the present value is given by the future value divided by 1 plus k. Or you can also use the tables whereby the present value is given by the future value multiplied by the present value interest factor. We are going to see that when we look at the tables. Now, where is this coming from? Let me take you back a little. When we were looking at the future values, we said that the future value n is given by, you take the present value, then you multiply this by 1 plus k power n. Now we're saying in discounting, we need to do the opposite. This is compounding. You need to do the opposite. What do? We need to make PV the subject of this formula. How do you do that? To make PV the subject of this formula, you need I'm simply going to take the PV to be the subject of this formula. I'm going to divide it here by 1 plus k power n. And you realize now this gives me the formula above. So you can simply get the formula from the future value. You simply make the PV the subject of the formula, and that's how you get the present value. When you are using tables, taking you back, when we are using tables to get the future value, we say that the future value of n is given by, you take the present value, but now you multiply this by the future value interest factor, cos kn. Now, in this case, you are getting the future value. Therefore, you multiply by the future value interest factor. Here, we are looking for the present value. Therefore, we take the future value, we multiply that by the present value interest factor. So in these formulas, the PV here represents the present value. That is the current value, because that is what we are determining. So in these, you are given the future value, the FVN, that is the future value. Now you need to get the present value from that. So FVN here stands for the future value at the end of period N. Period N is the number of years. How long is it going to take? Or number of months. So N in this case represents the number of periods the money is left on deposits. Then we have the PVIF, which represents the present value interest factor, which is normally obtained from the tables. And this represents the present value of 1 shilling when it is discounted at K% for N period. And N here, and our K here simply represents the annual rate of interest, that amount that you'll earn from investing in that given account. Having looked at that, let's go through an illustration. Maybe it's going to help us understand the concept better. The illustration says, assume you are to receive shillings 172,800 3 years from now on an investment, and the required rate of return is 20%. What amount would you receive today to be indifferent? Look at that. It's saying you are expecting that in 3 years' time, so that is our N, you are going to receive 172,800. This amount is not being received today. You are expecting it in 3 years, and therefore this is our future value, right? Then the required rate of return is 20%. That is our K. Then they are asking you, how much will I give you today for you to be contented? Instead of you waiting for 3 years to receive 172,800, how much can I give you today for you to be indifferent? That is a question. That means we need to determine what? The present value. That is what we are looking for in this question. Let's get to solution. In this solution, let's start with the first method. When you are using the equation, that is the first formula. So when we apply these, what are you going to get? So we say that the present value is given by the future value divided by 1 plus k power n. Already we have seen that our k, which is the required rate of return, is 20%. Our n is 3 years, the number of periods. Then the future value in 3 years is 172,800. So when you replace that in the formula, that will be 172,800 divided by 1 plus 0.2 power 3. When you solve that to give you the present value is 100,000. Let's go to method 2. And method 2 now, we want to use the tables. What is the formula? We already say that when you're using the tables, the formula for getting the present value is given here. That present value is given by, you take the future value, you multiply by the present value interest factor. So we need to get the present value interest factor. You know that from these, our K is 20% and our N is 3 years. So the PVIF, this here, is normally obtained from the finance tables. How do you get that? These are the finance tables, and previously I explained how you use these tables. They are normally labeled A1, A2, A3, A4. They normally have 4 tables or any other labeling criteria, but they are 4 tables. Now this is A3. Now what tells you that you're using the right table? I want you to look at the formula. The formula requires you to multiply this by the present value interest factor, PVIF. So you need to check from your table if this is what is reading. Back to my table. If I look at these, at my table, you find that here it is indicated the present value interest factor KN. Don't even look at anything else. That is enough. PVIF KN. That is all that you need to take. Now, I've already noticed that I'm using the right table, and therefore I can go ahead and read the present value interest factor. This is what is very, very important, very key when you're reading a table. Always look at that. Now, how do you read these tables? This table has got rows and columns. Columns go downwards, or they are vertical. Then we have the rows which are horizontal, like that. Now, the first row here represents the required rate of return, or what you call the given interest rate, which is given in percentage, 1%, 2%, all the way to 30%. The first column represents the number of periods downwards. How many years? Year 1 all the way to year 50. Therefore, when you are reading these, we have already seen that the present value interest factor, it is 20%, 3 years. So I go to my table, I check where 20% is. It is there. After seeing my 20%, I check where 3 years is. It is there. Then I move and check where the 2 meets. I move with that line, I move there, up to there. Then downwards, up to that point. You find that my 2 points meet at a certain value here, and the value is 0.5787, and that is my present value interest factor, where K is 20% and N is 3 years. It is that simple. So this is the value that I need, 0.5787. So I already have my present value interest factor, 20%, 3 years is 0.5787. So I replace that in the formula. So my present value will be given by 172,800 multiplied by 0.5787, which is 99,999.36, which is approximately 100,000. And if you check from our previous solution, we got the same. So you can either use the tables, or you apply the formula, which will lead you to the same solution. But now, why is it important to know the 2 methods? It is important to know the 2 methods because if you check at this table here, there are some values which are not there. Look at the required rate of return. There are some percentages that are not there. Like in between here, there is no 17%. In between here, there is no 20, 21, 22, and 23. Here, so you find that these percentages, if you come across them, you cannot use the tables, and therefore you have to use the formula. That is why it is very important for you to learn how to use the two methods. This was Virtual Wisdom Finance and Accounting Tutorials. I hope this tutorial was of importance and it was of help to you. If it was, kindly go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel and also invite your friends so that they can be able to benefit from our future free tutorials. If you have any question or you need any clarification or you want to pass some piece of advice, kindly get me through the contact above here. Thank you very much for your time. Let's meet in the next tutorial.